Well, hello everybody. Probably not who you were expecting to hear on this video. I just wanted to get on here really quick and just say a couple things about Sugar Pine Quilt Store. I mean, it was amazing. I had so much fun talking with the owners while I was there, and I just wanted to put out a small apology. I'm an amateur YouTuber. I don't plan things out. I don't schedule things out. And we recorded this stuff back at the end of September. And here it is January before we're getting it on our channel. So I just want to say sorry for taking so long. Thanks for putting up with us there at the store. You were great people. Really enjoyed your store. So much to see. Highly recommend this store if you happen to find yourself in the Canmore Alberta area. Wonderful people, wonderful store. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Hello and welcome back. I'm here. As you can probably tell from the sound of my voice, I've been sick for a while and I don't have a lot of voice, so I'm not going to be talking very much. As you can tell, this was Keith's favorite shop, and I loved it as well. It was fantastic. I saw so many different projects. Every little corner you go around, you see different sample projects made up that you look at and you think, oh, I'd love to make that one. Beautiful fabric, friendly people. It's funny because I probably only saw about half of this shop really well because I kind of got stuck in one corner looking at fabric and just kind of got distracted there while Keith was walking all over the shop talking to the owner. And so there was a lot of it by the time it was time to leave. It was like, oh, I haven't actually looked over here. So there were things when Keith was showing me this video and I was looking at it, realizing I really don't think I saw that part of the shop, or if I did, I just briefly saw it. So beautiful shop, very highly recommended. I would love to go back sometime. And yeah, they even have projects that are up on the ceiling as you're walking down the stairs and up along the top of the ceiling. They're just everywhere. The mountains there, it's funny because they have three sisters. We saw signs all over the place for some of their landscape quilts that say three sisters. And since we have three sisters in Central Oregon, that seemed like a fun little thing. So sit back and enjoy this amazing shop. Have a great time. Okay, fabrics from Canmore. Keith really wanted to get something that was camping lumberjacky, so he picked this one. And I picked this one to go with it because it has moose and beaver and Canadian leaf on it. And I thought it went with it nicely, and I needed something to go with it. My choice was the blue with the Canadian leaf on it. And also, one of the things I discovered about my friend Sai on this trip is that she has an amazing talent for picking out four-leaf clovers. I've never seen anybody that just walks along the street, looks down and goes, oh look, there's a four-leaf clover. And there is. And then you go a little bit further and she's like, oh look, there's another one. It's amazing. So when I found this fabric there and it has four-leaf clovers in it as well as the three-leaf, I thought I just have to get that in honor of Sai. So that's my fabrics. So I'm going to talk about quilts that I finished last year, progress that I made, and also plans for this year, for 2025. And I started last year at some point, somebody had made a comment about what if you only had the materials that you needed for what you were going to do for the year. And I made myself a list. I just kind of thought, like, what if you had 50 projects that you had to work on and you only kept the items that you were using for that 50 projects? And at first that sounded like, oh, that'd be such a small amount of stuff. But then it occurred to me that if you finished one project every 2 weeks, which is wildly optimistic in my world, that would still give you enough for 2 years worth of projects. So I just randomly made myself a list of 50 projects to work on, and I started working on that, and that's where I think I actually got stuff done last year. So for things that I did, one of the projects that has not been on YouTube at all, I was doing quilting for my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law had 13 grandchildren, and she decided she was going to make a quilt for every single one of them for Christmas last year. I thought she was crazy. Still kind of think she's crazy. But she did it. She got all of the quilts done, and she had asked me, and I agreed to do the quilting for her. So I have, I didn't do the one for the new baby. She did that one completely. But otherwise, for the other 12 grandchildren, I quilted quilts that she had made, and they got them all for Christmas. It was really exciting. And so we'll have pictures of those because she did give me permission to show them. Besides that, I did get the trip quilt done, which I'm not going to completely unfold. You guys have all seen it, but that was a huge, big deal to get that finished. I did make table runner and placemats for the brand new table that Keith built out of reclaimed wood from the roof of our reconstruction of our house. This was not on my list when I started the year. We have table legs for our trailer that we put down, and we always stuck them in the little bin underneath the seat, but they rattle around and they get stuff yucky. So Keith decided one day right before we went camping that I needed to make a bag for them. So this is a quilted bag suitable for table legs from the trailer, and it keeps them contained and nice, and then they don't bang into everything. Let's see. I did my Y2K quilt. Finally getting that done 25 years later. I did my pink quotes. This says, "There are always flowers for those that want to see them," by Henry Matisse. This is one I had just made because I liked doing the embroidery and I wanted to do a pink and brown quilt, and so I designed this and I had started this. I don't remember what year I started it, probably like, I don't know, 2013, 2014. Anyway, I did get it finished. Let's see, I did the happy chickens on our trip to Alaska. Oops, I still have a pin stuck in there. Happy chickens, which is a poem that I made when we first got chickens, when we moved to our house in 2014. And I had written it on a piece of 2x4, and I used to sing it to our chickens, and my husband made fun of me, but I loved it, and so I made a little embroidery to go with it and made a little quilt. And then I also made This was my original pumpkin quilt. I made a copy of this for my friend Vicky. She had wanted one of these, so she paid me to make a quilt for her. And then I don't have a picture of it right here, but you've just seen it. I did the Utah Santa, the one that is done out of wool with all the little embroidery and embellishments on him. So those are all projects that I finished last year. There's a lot of people that would do a lot more projects, but considering that I hardly ever finished anything, obviously, I think that was pretty amazing. I do have other UFOs and other projects that I want to work on this year. So I started a new 50 list. I haven't got it done, but this is the beginning of it. First of all, my middle daughter, Kimmy, has a collection of t-shirts. I'm not going to pull them all out and look at them, but a bunch of t-shirts. Things from when she went on mission trips or when she was a girls' crew serving at our family camp for church. Souvenir t-shirts, all kinds of things like that. And so she wants me to make her a t-shirt quilt. And that is one of my first projects that I need to get started on. This is the backing for it. It's like deliciously fuzzy. So soft. So that will be an important project. This one you guys have seen before. This is the gnome quilt that I was hoping to finish last year. Well, actually not even last year. The year before for Christmas. It didn't quite get done, and then I didn't work on it at all last year to get it finished. It just needs a little bit more quilting, and it needs the binding, and it needs to be right side up. There we go. So I do want to get this finished. I would like to hang it right up there where our fish quilt is come Christmas time. I think it would look lovely there, and it will be behind our tree. So that is a project I really want to get done. That shouldn't take too long, hopefully. For another big project, this is the kaleidoscope quilt. This is a class that is on Craftsy. Twilight Kaleidoscope Quilt by Marilyn Foreman. Kind of what it looks like. And it's a beautiful quilt. I loved it, and I bought this fabric. I have lots of stuff cut out. I had just barely started this quilt. I just bought the fabric for it when my dad was diagnosed with his brain tumor. And I felt like it was a little bit too much for me to tackle at that point. I did decide I probably want something that I could quilt, just mindlessly work on stuff. And so I did spend one day and I cut out a whole bunch of pieces and made myself little directions of steps so that if I felt like I could just come and look at that and go like, okay, I can stitch these things together. However, I put it in this nice little bin here, and it hasn't seen the light of day since then. So I've decided that it is now time for me to work on this quilt. So it's kind of a UFO, but then again, it's also barely started. Let's see. This is also not really a UFO, but kind of. I have a friend from church who has volunteered me to teach a quilt class. And I have a design that I've made. The idea being that you can have a really simple quilt that you can put together, that you don't have to have a whole bunch of matching seams, and that you can make choices as to what you want to do to either make it simpler or more complicated, depending upon your level of skill and what you're wanting to do. So this is the beginning of my demos for that class, and I'm hoping to do that in the next month or two. So this is, again, an important project. This one is a stitch along. Now I can't remember the name of the store. I think it's Inner Quiltin'. They had these woolly flowers and the embroidery, and they had the different blocks. They had a completely different layout for the quilt when they put it together. I did mine based on, I had some of this fabric, a tiny bit of it, that was left over from a friend of mine who had passed away, and I wanted to use it. And I felt this is something that she would really enjoy seeing. And so I designed the layout, and I think that it's something that I could use as either just a wall hanging, or it could be as a centerpiece in my table when I get it done. But it just needs quilting. I haven't touched it from this point because I was afraid I would mess it up. I've now done a lot of machine quilting since I did all those quilts for Carolyn's grandkids. And so I'm looking forward to just getting the quilting done and getting the binding on it and then being finished with it. So that one's a pretty quick finish. This is one I kind of dinked around on last year at some point. You may have seen it on my wall. I don't think I talked about working on it. This was a mini charm pack. I almost never buy pre-cuts other than fat quarters, but we found this on our trip, our big trip around the US, and I just love the colors. I love the fabrics, and so I bought this little mini charm pack, and then I wasn't sure what to do with it. And so one day when I wasn't wanting to work on the trip quilt, but I wanted to work on something, I just started putting these together. And so this just, I want to put a border on it and quilt it, and this should be a fairly quick fix or finish as well. And then it will be a nice memory of our trip. This is one I started probably 2018, maybe 2019. This is before my husband retired. And people would say, "Don't you have any plans for retirement?" And I said, "Yes, we have retirement plans. We plan on camping," which we have done. Lots of camping. This again is my own design. I've had this part done forever. Again, I was afraid to do anything with it because I was worried about messing it up when I did the quilting. So I'm going to tackle that.
It can go in the Tidewoods.
It can go in the Tidewoods. Have you explained what the Tidewoods is yet?
Oh, that information's coming.
Okay. Secret project coming up from Keith. Anyway, that can go in the Tidewoods. This one is also a very old project, I think 2009. This was, my husband had been, he was going to a class and it was at the beach, and I was allowed to go with him, but I knew I'd be stuck in a motel all day long and I didn't have anything to do. And so I just kind of drew up a little design and started working on the embroidery and the applique. So this is my own design again. Just something to do, and I love it. I've never known exactly what I was going to do with it, but I want to get it finished and hung up because I do really love it. I think it's really pretty. I think it deserves to be shown and not just stuck in a drawer. Almost done. Well, getting there anyway. Okay, this is one when we were working on the construction of our house, and I wasn't able to get to my sewing machine. All I could do was embroider, and I had run out of things to embroider. I went to my quilt shop, and they had a couple embroidery patterns, and this was one of them. I believe this, I'm going to look, otherwise I'm going to get it wrong. This is Farm Stand Bouquet from Crabapple Hill. Beautiful little pattern. I had so much fun doing the embroidery on this. And this actually went with us to Alaska because I figured with the forget-me-nots, and I have forget-me-not fabric, I was intending to use the blue and the green and the brown with this to make my Alaska quilt. And then none of the fabrics that I bought seemed to fit with the very summery feel of this. And so I think they're going to be separate projects. Not sure exactly what they'll be, but again, I think it's too pretty to just sit in a drawer. This was another Craftsy class. This was by, what is it called? It's by Sarah Fielke. It's different quilting technique. I can't remember the name of the class now. This was one I did while we were working on our house, and Keith was working late shifts, I had nothing else to do, and so I was watching Craftsy classes. I took this one totally on a whim. It didn't seem like something I would be interested in, and it was one of my favorite classes I ever did. I absolutely loved it. So this was her method of doing applique, which I absolutely love. And I did the little embellishments with the embroidery on there. I've thought about making it a pillow, although it's a really, really big piece, and so it'd make a gigantic pillow, but that might be kind of fun. I want to do something with it. And then last, years and years ago, there was a pattern in the Cross Stitch and Quilts, Cross Stitch and Country Projects, something like that. It was a magazine. And I absolutely loved it. This is it. And I always thought I wanted to do this. They had made it into a clock, and it was hanging on the wall. I wanted to do it, but I never started it. And finally, after I had gotten sick with my autoimmune disease and I couldn't do much, I had one day I thought, what am I waiting for? Why don't I just start doing it? And so I did it. I finished it. And I didn't go any further because I had to figure out how I wanted to hang it. I was thinking about doing the clock, making a clock out of it. Finally decided that's not what I wanted to do. I just want to hang it. It is a square size, so it needs special work for framing it. And I finally realized recently I actually want to frame it with fabric to make it look kind of like a mat, and then hopefully have my husband build me a frame for it. I didn't mention that to you, by the way.
No, you haven't.
So, project for you as well as for me. I really want to hang this on my wall in my sewing room. I have a spot that I've saved for it, and I just want to get it hung up so I can look at it. And so that is my beginning of my 50 list. That's like my, I think, 10-ish, right around 10 projects that will be the first ones that I'm going to focus on in 2025. It'd be awesome if I could get all of these and more done, but we will see how the year goes. But this is what I intend to at least start working on. So thanks for coming along with me, and I hope you have a great year.